There are several ways how we can install C++ in Mac, but probably the easiest one is to use the Xcode. Xcode is Apple's official standard IDE for macOS that also contains C++. So for that, let's just use the Xcode, and let's just run Xcode, select, and install. So in my case, it's already installed. As you can see here, the command line tools are already installed. The only thing that we need to do after the installation, we need to verify that it's indeed installed. So for that, let's run G++ version. So in my case, as you can see here, it's C language. It's installed on my Mac. So the next step is that we need to choose the IDE that we are going to use. There are several options that we can choose from. In my case, I'm using Visual Studio because for me it's the easiest one to use. So let's go and let's open a folder where we are going to create our program. So I have already created a folder, and I'm calling it Full Course C++. So you can create a folder whatever you want and the name whatever you want. So let's open the folder. And now let's create our first program. So for that, let's go to the folder and let's create our first file, which is, let's call it start. And the extension for the C++ that we are using is CPP, which stands for C++. For example, extension in Java is just Java. For Python, it's a PY, and so on. Let's create our first file, and after creating that, let's create our first Hello World program. So for that, the first thing that we are going to do, let's include our standard library for the IO stream. And the next one is, let's create our first function. Every C++ program should have entry level, which is the main function. So let's create our main function. Let's call it main. And in our main function, what we need to do is we need to print the hello world, right? So for that, let's declare the standard namespace, and for that, let's print our hello world. So let's print our hello world and hello world. And again, let's declare our standard namespace, and let's end our line. And also what we need to do is we need to, since this method, our main method, it returns int, we need to return the int here. So let's return 0 here, and that's it. That's it for our hello world program in C++. Now we need to run it. The way we are going to run it, there are two ways how we can run it in our IDE. The first one is that we can run it from the command line, so from the terminal. So for that, let's open the terminal. And in the terminal, what we need to do is first we need to compile that to the machine code, and then we need to run the executable. So for that, let's do that. So let's compile it, G++. Let's declare our file name, which is start C++. And we can name it our executable whatever we want. Let's say that in our case we are just naming it as a test. So let's run it, and as you can see here, the test executable is created. Now we can just run our executable test, and as you can see here, the hello world is printed. That's one way how we can, let's clear our terminal. So that's one way how we can run our C++ program. The another way, we can just simply run the code here. Simply run the code here. So to do that, what we need to do is we need to, in our Visual Studio, we need to go here to the plugins, and we need to install two plugins. The first plugin is C++ Code Runner. That we are using for running code, and another one is that the plugin for the C++ provided by the Microsoft.